Alright, what's going on, guys? It's your boy Brad here, down in the RPO BMX lab with episode 2 of the review series that I'm doing, and this one is going to be top load stems. Full disclaimer, I'm not a BMX doctor. I don't know, you know, all of the information about these stems. I only know what I have ridden, what I've heard, from friends that have ridden them, and, by reputation. So, yeah, I'm just going to kind of give you some facts and some personal opinions, but by no means take them as gospel because I'm not always correct. So, this is an objective video. I'm just going to kind of go over some of them. One thing I want to make sure that a lot of people will understand, I'm going to make sure you guys will know, like, whether or not it has the recess, which is one of the important things for me. This is that little recess where the fork tube, the fork top tube compression bolt goes in, and some have that recess and some don't, and it sits on top, and that's sometimes a deal breaker for some people. I know I definitely like the flush look of the recess, but some people, don't mind it either way. I'm also going to go over, some of the a lot of the top loads. You'll notice there's, as I said earlier, BMX goes in trends, and with something like a top load, one thing I've noticed, there's a lot more signature top loads than there are front loads. I was thinking, like, who has like signature front loads right now? And I know Jordan Aleppo for Primo has had one for a long time now, and I think Garrett has one for Fiend, but I can't think of too many front loaders. Maybe Felix Pragenberg get one because Eclaw makes anything he really wants. But yeah, I saw, in my opinion, top loads are kind of the standard in BMX. They always will be, and they'll, I think stems come back to top load. There's 3 different styles of top loads that I'm going to be showing you. There's a top load style, which is, this is somewhat of an older school top load with a bit of a slanted top and not quite as much rise. It just kind of goes straight across there. And there's, several companies have one like that. The Cinema one's very similar. I'm going to be going over the different metals, cold forged, like this Animal one, versus CNC machined, like the Odyssey Dugan. And you'll see this one also has a much higher rise, similar to this one, which is the 3rd type of stem. So I'm also going to go over weights with you now. I didn't get to do weights earlier, so let's get started. I'm going to start with, just so you know if you want to keep watching the video or not, I'm going to be doing the Primo down stem, the Primo Icon stem, which is Sean Ricani's old Primo stem. I have the Animal pop-off stem, the new version, and the version in green. I have an Odyssey Dugan stem, V2, the Merit inaugural stem, the Cinema Martinez stem, a Colt Redemption stem, Chase Dehart signature stem, a Sunday Freeze stem, Colt Salvation stem, and a couple old school ones I'll share with you. So let's get started with the Primo down stem. This is Sean Ricani's signature stem. This stem is not in production anymore. I think Primo might still have a few, but I think it's kind of called the Rattlesnake stem now. It might not be the same. This thing weighs in at 13 ounces. It is a CNC'd block of metal. I like how the bolts, when you close them in, they kind of go a little bit further inside, so they don't stick out at all. It's a really cool looking stem. It has the engravement on the top, and I think this thing's pretty burly. It's got this extra long clamping area, and it's probably a little more stem than some people may need, but it's a nice one. It's got a nice little rise to it. This is a CNC'd stem, 13 ounces obviously. It has 49 millimeter reach, and what all these stems will have is the 22.2 millimeter circumference or diameter for the basic handlebars. I'm not going to do any oversized today, just going to stick with the regular 22.2. The oversized, I believe, has a 1-inch hole, and I do have couple of those stems, but I'm not going to go over those today. So yeah, this is the Primo Ricani stem, very nice stem, but if you're looking for something very similar, I would go with I think it's either the Stranger Rattlesnake or the Primo Rattlesnake stem. The second stem, one of my favorite stems, this is the Primo Down stem. This is Stefan August's signature Primo stem. It is also CNC'd. It's, pretty heavy. Let's get a weight on this. We just had 13 ounces. This one here is 12.7, which, still a little heavy. You can see it has a larger clamping area, some extra large bolts. It does not have the recess in it like the Ricani stem, but it is a really cool looking stem. Definitely since CNC block. Let's see what it says. We have a 48 millimeter reach and 24 millimeter rise, which is kind of nice because almost has that look of a front load. You could probably flip this around. I will say I had this thing refinished, so this is usually in like a gloss black, and the lettering is not white, it's black, but I did a little thing on that, so good for me. Anyway, moving forward, we're going to go on to the Animal Pop-Off stem. This is Animal's new stem, USA made stem. This is the new color. It's like a forest green. This stem is pretty nice. It weighs in at 11.7 ounces, so it's the lightest one we have here. This is, like I said, this is a made in USA stem, cold forged, which is said to be stronger than the CNC block. CNC tends to be a little more expensive due to the machining process, as I mentioned in the previous video, but this is your pop-off. Right now I think they have it in 3 colors, polished, black like this one here, and this one has a 48 millimeter reach, 21 millimeter rise, and a 10 millimeter rise when inverted. Animal has all their stems so they can be run inverted as well, which you'll see a lot of Japanese riders riding it that way, and that's why they have some cool graphics on it here, and really cool Animal graphics there, which always, is a hit. Animal they know how to do it. Animal knows what they're doing. Okay, hope I'm being loud enough, sorry. Moving forward, we are moving on to more popular Odyssey stem. This is the Dugan stem. I believe most of these Odyssey stems, the Dugan stem, the Nord stem, the Brock stem, these are all CNC'd stems. They all have a similar design to them. This particular one, it says right over here 51 millimeter. You can see down here 51 millimeter reach. Over here it says it has the DGN for Dugan on it, right in there. And this is the V2. It actually has the Odyssey and then it says Dugan. It's V2 cut out here. Really sleek looking stem. Let's see what it says on some of the specs here. We have 51 millimeter reach, 28 millimeter rise. So it says a 28 millimeter rise. This one actually has a 24 millimeter rise. These are a little bit similar. Why would you ride the Dugan stem instead of the Primo Down stem? Well, the Dugan stem has a 51 millimeter reach, and if you've ever seen Tom Dugan ride, Tom Dugan rides a lot of transition, and he also runs a longer bike, a longer back end. He's not much of a jibber, so he needs as much stability as he can, so stretch out the bike a little bit, for a lot of big drops and a lot of the stuff he does. So the longer stem just adds stability, kind of like Cadillac. Watch out. So anyway, moving forward, yep, that's the Dugan stem. I'll go over guesstimate prices at the end here. Next, we have the Marin inaugural stem, another nice stem. This one is CNC'd. Let's see what we got on this. Oh, I did not get much information on this. I don't know why. I think I got distracted. However, this stem is very similar to, which one was I going to compare this to? Actually, it's kind of like the Primo Icon. Sorry, about the wrist. As it's raised here, I would say it has about a 24. The Dugan's a 24 millimeter rise. Oh, I got to weigh the Dugan. And this one looks to have about exactly the same. So I would say 24 millimeter rise, and the reach looks to be about the same. So I'm going to say that this has about a 51 millimeter reach. I should have checked that out for you guys ahead of time. I forgot. The weight of this thing is 11.3 ounces. So right now this is the lightest stem we have is the Merit Inaugural. And the Dugan is going to weigh in at 11.0 ounces. So the Dugan is the lightest. So right now, Odyssey's coming through with the lightest stem. And, you know, it's Tom Dugan, so it's going to be a pretty tough stem. The Animal, wow, the Animal Inverse, I do not have here at the moment, but I do have the Tinez stem. This stem has a 48 millimeter reach, 22 millimeter rise, 8 millimeter rise when inverted. This is a stem by Cinema, and it's Corey Martinez signature stem. Have here in the copper color. It's CNC machined. Really looks cold forged, I believe, to me. That they use these terminologies, and I just, you know, I get confused sometimes. I think they just try to trick you. So it should be either they're CNC'd or they're cold forged. CNC machined, and you know what I mean. Some say just like what aluminum they are. They should be more specific on that. And they also, someone had mentioned to me, shout out to my boy Tim in Massachusetts, that I couldn't find any stack heights on these. I mean, I probably could have done a little more deeper research, but I couldn't find any stack height. This one does have the recess. Dugan has the recess. The Merit does not have a recess. Sorry about that. And the weight of this, could it break the record of 11? Cinema Tinez, 10.9 ounces. It does. This is the lightest stem we have so far. But we are moving on, and I can't really count this one because it does have titanium bolts that I put in, and I don't know if Colt's still making this, but this is the Redemption stem by Colt. This is a very similar stem to the Animal Inverse stem. I would almost say they're almost exactly alike. However, the Animal Inverse has this recession, and you can flip it over. It has a recession there, and it's pretty, and it's flat here. So pretty cool stem, similar aesthetics, but this one's by Colt, the Redemption Chase Dehart signature stem. I'm going to throw the weight on here. 8.7 ounces. You know, you can't beat that, but those titanium bolts probably do a lot for that. So we'll see. They only cost like 20 bucks. So you want to, you know, nab some ounces off of that stem. Get some of those bolts. I think that's, I forget the name of the company, TLC or something like that. But all right, moving on. I'm going to go over two of the lower level stems, and I say this because they're less expensive. They tend to come on the stock bikes by these companies, and these stems are the Sunday Freeze stem, which is also an aftermarket stem, don't get me wrong. And I do not think this stem by any means is going to snap or smash or break on anyone. Please let me know in the comments. I've never ridden this stem. I'll talk about, you know, the ones I've ridden, but it's similar to a lot of stems. It's very similar to the Dugan stem. It does have the recession, and it's good. It's like it's nice looking. I just have a taste for, you know, some of the finer things when it comes to that. I mean, these are really well, you know, I think they're like $40 or less, so you really can't beat that. But yeah, it's a good deal for a good stem. Same with this. This is definitely a cold forged stem. You can see, I think this is a Colt Salvation, if I'm wrong about that name, but they all, Salvation, Redemption, Judgment, they're all kind of dreary and doomed. So I'll just say Salvation. Sound like the Terminator. But this one has the recess in it. Nice stem. Comes on their stock bikes. I think you can buy it aftermarket, around 35 bucks. But let's get into like some of the prices of these other ones, like the Merits, the Tinez. These are all $70 stems, the Redemption, mainly because they're CNC'd. The Animal stems, they can go up to 100. Some of them, you know, average around like $95 for the pop-offs right now, USA made, and, you know, really indestructible. The Primo down stem, I believe, is around $75 to $85. And the Icon stem is probably 65, but like I said, I don't think they're still producing that at the moment. So we have how many signature stems here? We got the Primo Ricani, the Primo Stefan August stem, the animal ones are not, the Dugan stem, the Tinez, Chase D, and I have a Primo Annihilator, which is an old school Tony Nyer stem, front top load, and this is back, they were making smaller stems to save weight. They'd have actually hollow bolts, and I don't know if you guys know Tony Nyer, but he was like the king of like front nose grinds and nose grinds or whatever they are, but craziest grind you can kind of like do on a rail. And this is a 7075 aluminum stem, so it's a little thicker. I mean, the metal's a little stronger, weighs in at 9.4 ounces, which is pretty light. It does not have any titanium on it, but you can see how kind of small it is. It has this little slit in the back. And shout out Tony. The only downside to these stems is when they would go in, the bars would go in, because the metal is denser, it wouldn't mold to the bars quite as much. But that can also be a benefit, especially if you change your bars a lot. So yeah, there's a shout out to like kind of like the beginning of the new school stems. Another one of those like from around 2010, the Fly Alta stem. This stem's sick. Flip it upside down the same way. It has some graphics here, and just, you know, Fly always makes some really cool parts. They always have great designs, and I think this is one of them, and I happen to get my hands on it, so shout out to those guys. Like I said, I didn't get to go over all of the stems. I have ridden the Animal Pop-Off stem. Really liked that stem. Feels, you know, it was very easy to get used to. Front load stems are a little tougher to get used to, but with the jump off, I haven't really been able to ride, so I'm just gonna stick to some of the old stuff I remember. I did ride this Colt Redemption for a while on my back check, great stem, and as for the others, very similar, you know, designs, and I've ridden all of these geometries. The shortest one here being the down stem, I think at 48 millimeter reach, and that's what all the animal ones are. 48 millimeters is like standard for street riding. 50 millimeters is just your basic, you know, stem. That's like you're right in the middle, 50 millimeters. And then once you get to 52 and longer, that'll be like your trails, transition type stems. So most of these are street stems, you know, designed for street riding, heavy duty street riding. So I'm gonna cut this short. I hope you guys got something out of this. I gave you guys some weights. If you're interested in any of these stems, you can check me out on Instagram, RPOBMXBTQ at Instagram, and that's gonna be it for this one. I'm out.